name's Jenson Stevens, and I'm going to be analysing number 11 for the white team. Firstly, his skill strength was his passing. His passing was really good at short distances, playing it into the midfield and then trying to make runs off the back of the right back into the channels, just so he can get down that line, try and put balls into the box and try and put their defence under a little bit of pressure. His passing was really good, going short as he was able to pass it off as well, not just making them runs but also drop back to keep possession and not lose the ball. Another strength he had was his dribbling. On a number of occasions he was able to get down the line and take on his man, drop the shoulder, and he performed some advanced skills of doing some Cruyff turns just to fool his defender and cut it back to the midfielder to maybe have a strike or just keep possession in general and get into better attacking positions. Another strength of his was his marking. Throughout the game he followed the left back, not all the time, but the majority of the time he did, and this made sure the right back wasn't able to get down the line and help on the overlap, helping the right winger put balls into the box or get in better attacking positions, which is really beneficial for his defence. By having good passing, he was able to make forward passes into the strikers, into the midfielders, which got the player moving forward and putting their team under a little bit more pressure, forcing a few more mistakes. By him having great dribbling, he was able to take on his man and put them balls into a box or cut it back for the midfield, which was really dangerous, as he can get an assist and his team could get a goal. His marking was really effective throughout the game because he stopped the team from putting crosses into the box, which can prevent them from scoring or getting close to scoring, and it puts his team a little bit less pressure on them, especially the defence, as they were struggling down that right side a few times. One of his tactic strengths was his attacking positioning. When they had the ball, he was stood up top and very wide. This was it. So when the ball was on the right side of the pitch, he was able to make lots of space on the left. So when they switched the ball, he was able to run into that channel and get onto it the majority of the time, depending on if the pass was good enough. A second tactic strength was he knew the rules of the game. On a number of occasions the referee made a few hand signals for throw-ins, etc., and he knew what they were, which allowed him to mark up easier and more quicker to stop them from progressing in their attack or making quick attacks themselves. His third tactical strength was his high press. When the opposition had the ball in the defence, just passing it around, he was really tight on that right back, so when he received the ball he was straight on him, put him under pressure, and sometimes the right back kicked it out of play and he couldn't really cope with the press. Number 11 was putting on him. As well, linking back to the rules of the game, this links back to mob football, where there wasn't really many rules in football, which was due to law and order, where there wasn't much really law and order and you could get away with these aggressive sports. By having good attacking positioning, he was able to find good space to attack into, so he was able to sprint down the line into good areas and put the ball into the box. He was also able to eliminate 2 players out of the game at some points in the game, which was really good for the attacking player, but he wasn't able to get that final cross into the box on a few occasions. By knowing the rules of the game, of course, he was able to stop quick plays from the opposition and mark up early, which eased a little bit more pressure off the defence when they made a clearance and they didn't want to necessarily defend at that time when they were just getting everyone organised. By having a high press, they were able to stop the opposition from playing their football, stop them playing possession, and kind of made it a little bit scrappy, but I think that's what their aim really was in the game. One of his fitness strengths was his speed. Throughout the game they were making balls into the box, down into the channel, which he was able to sprint past the right back and get onto them balls easily because of his speed. This is due to having fast glycolytic fibres, which produce large forces. So he was able to get down that wing, pass that right back, and get balls into the box. Another strength of his was his agility. On a number of occasions, he was able to drop the shoulder on the right back and take him on, and this fooled him quite many times. So he could lay the ball back to the midfield or left back, and maybe put the ball into the box, which was really dangerous. This could be due to angular motion, where his because he had a low mass, he didn't have a high moment of inertia, so he was able to turn quickly and drop that shoulder on the defender. Another fitness strength was in fact his strength. His strength was really good in 50-50 challenges, and on the majority of the occasion he won them. This is good, as he was able to keep possession of the ball, and when his team made a slight mistake with the pass and he gave the possession away, he was able to win it back with a solid challenge. His effectiveness of having good speed meant that he was able to beat his man and put balls into the box, which is really beneficial for scoring goals. His effectiveness throughout the game of having good agility meant he was able to beat his men, turn quickly, get passes off quickly, and overall eliminate some of the defenders out of the game. By having good strength throughout the game, he was able to hold up play, win the 50-50s, and really just keep possession for the team. One of his skill weaknesses was his tackling. Although he was good in 50-50s, when the right back was trying to take him on, he wasn't really good at tackling. He had a poor technique. He wasn't really turning his foot sideways and trying to plant his foot in front of the ball, and instead he was fouling on a few occasions. This could be due to his frustration, where he's getting really frustrated and it's not going his way, so he gets very aggressive and making rash challenges. We can eliminate this out of his game by using operant conditioning, mainly throughout punishment, through yellow cards or red cards, which is punishing him for making mistakes, which will hopefully cut it out of his game. His second weakness was his shooting. Although he had a shot on shot, it didn't really go on target because it was a poor technique. He kind of cut across the ball and it just sliced out of play. Instead, the performer should have used linear motion and applied the force through the centre of the mass. So the ball's not really spinning and it's going down the middle, but the ball's moving a lot because of Bernoulli's principle, which is like a knuckleball, and it makes it really difficult for goalkeepers to save. And instead he should have used linear motion instead of Magnus. As Magnus, he applied the force to the left as the centre of mass, which sliced the ball out of play. His third weakness was his heading. It was quite tall, but he wasn't able to win the challenges against the right back, and when he did, he rarely challenged at all, to be fair. So when he did challenge, he lost, but on the majority of the occasion, he didn't. His effectiveness of having poor tackling is that he wasn't really able to stop a few of the counter-attacks, and having good tackling stops the counter-attacks and stops the opposition getting forward and getting balls into the box. Having poor shooting, he's not able to score goals, of course, and he's not able to really trouble the keeper into making mistakes or things like that. As well as having poor heading, he weren't able to make flick-ons for the striker to run into the channel, and then he could move off and make the runs into the box. But he wasn't able to do that because he rarely challenged for the headers, and when he did, he lost them. One of his tactical weaknesses was his set pieces. At set pieces, he didn't really do anything. He was just stood on the edge of the box waiting for the ball to come out so he could have a strike. With a tall player, you'd expect him being good in the air, but he didn't really challenge for anything, so he wasn't able to get on them set pieces from free kicks or corners and try and put the keeper under some pressure by winning some headers or things like that. Another tactical weakness was his communication. This because he didn't really communicate with his players. Rarely he spoke to them asking for a pass or telling them to make put a ball into the channel for him to run onto. He rarely did that. This could be due to his leadership, where trait theory, he could have inherited it from his parents. His parents might not be the leadership type or to communicate as much. So he's inherited this, and that's why he doesn't really communicate or lead his team as much. Another tactical weakness was his defensive positioning. This because although he followed the left back really well throughout the game, at some points he wasn't quick enough and it wasn't able to do it all game. So a few times the right back was able to get past him and was able to put a ball into the box, which really troubled his defence. By having poor set pieces, he wasn't able to score goals. He wasn't able to get set-ups or anything like that. He didn't really put their defence under any pressure. By having poor communication as well, he's not able to organise with his team. So when they're going on the attack, he's not able to tell the striker, I want you to run into this channel and I'll come through for a pass, a knock-on, or things like that. Or even defending. He's not telling his team, oh, pick him up, or things like that. Which is bad for the defence, as they don't really know what he's going to do. By having poor defensive positioning as well, we're getting back quickly to the right back. He wasn't able to stop the attacks down the wing into the channels and help out the left back, cutting out the attacks. One of his fitness weaknesses was his cardio. Towards the end of the game, he was getting a little bit tired. He wasn't making as many runs into the channels as he was earlier in the game. Another weakness was his flexibility. At one occasion, he was running down the wing, and the midfielder played a really good ball into the channel, and he couldn't get that final stretch on the ball because his flexibility wasn't good enough. And if he had better flexibility, he would have been able to get onto that pass and put a ball into the box because the striker was clean through. Another fitness weakness is his balance. Although he had really good strength in 50-50s, when he was dribbling with the ball, the right back went shoulder to shoulder with him, and it was easy to knock off the ball really, which lost possession and they could proceed in their attacks. By having poor cardio, he wasn't able to keep making them runs. He wasn't able to attack his attacks weren't as intense as they should have been, so the defence were able to cut out some of his runs towards the end of the game. By having poor flexibility, it prevented him scoring goals, getting assists, getting onto that last pass, things like that. As well as having poor balance, he was knocked off the ball when dribbling, so they lost possession, and the opposing team were able to get away on the counter-attack. Moving on to the action plan, I'm going to be focusing on one skill and one fitness weakness. The one I'm going to be focusing on, the skill, is his shooting and his fitness, his cardiovascular fitness. The aims of this is to improve his fitness overall so he can make more runs into the channels and just keep up the tempo throughout the game. What I want him to improve is his Cooper run time and also a gas analysis. As well, for the shooting, I want him to improve his conversion rate. For the action plan, I'm going to do it over 2 to 3 months, which is a mesocycle, 3 weeks for each progressive practice, which is a microcycle. I'm going to do 2 fitness training sessions a week and 1 skill session a week. I could do this because of the availability of time. In pre-1850, they didn't really have much time to play sports because they were working more than 40-hour weeks, so what they really did was rest at home and they didn't have time to go out and play sport. I'm doing 2 to 3 months because adaptations occur after 12 weeks, so if we do less than 2 to 3 months, then it's not really going to have an effect on his overall game. For the action plan, I'm going to make it specific, measurable, achievable, record and time bound. I'm going to have my performer train at the England Institute of Sport. This is due to the availability of transport, as we're able to get trains or drive to places far away to receive good training. Whereas in pre-1850 again, they weren't, only the upper class had horse and carriage, but they rarely could use them to get to other towns and cities because of the poor roads, and the lower class, they had to walk it. Although my performer might be tempted by illegal drugs throughout his training, I will remind him that by taking illegal drugs it could have an impact on the sport's image. Throughout his training sessions, I'm also going to give him manual, visual and verbal guidance. Manual, I'm going to put him in the right position for the technique for him shooting. Visual, I'm going to show him accurate demonstrations, mainly using role models that player aspires to play like. And also verbal guidance, just tell him how, and just so he can get a image in his mind of how to take that, do the skill, etc. The first practice, for the first 3 weeks, I'm going to get him to do some static shooting. Static shooting is just simple drill. You have a few balls on the edge of the box in different positions, and you're just shooting in an empty goal. And the aim is to get it on target. If this becomes too easy for the performer, I'm going to add a keeper, so he has to aim away from the centre of the goal, try and get it to the sides, top or bottom. As well, may add a few players to like block the shots he's making. For two of the sessions, I'm going to do a 30-minute run. This is continuous training where he'll be doing non-stop activity with no rest periods at all. If this becomes too easy for my performer, I'm going to increase the duration of his run or even the intensity that he's running at. So this will further help him to get him better cardio. For the second set of 3 weeks, we're going to do first time shooting. This is where we have another player pass the ball into his feet and he takes a shot first time. This is a difficult skill to perform because it's difficult to deal with a rolling ball coming at your foot. But if he does get too good at it, we're going to change the pace of the pass, make it a little bit harder, put a little bit more speed into the pass, maybe change the direction of the pass, the way it's coming in or the way it's spinning, or even put it on his weak foot, which was his right foot, and he did have a poor shot with his weak foot at the end of the game. For 2 of the sessions I'm going to be doing parachute runs. Parachute runs is where the performer puts a little parachute on him and he starts doing 30 metre runs, shuttle runs, and the air resistance going against the parachute makes it even harder for him to do these. To make this harder, I can increase the size of the parachute that is on his back. I can increase the intensity that he's running at, reduce the rest periods that he's having between each shuttle. This links back to air resistance, as increasing the surface area, the cross-sectional area, makes it even harder as there's more air resistance pushing against the performer. Due to globalisation in sport, I can use these manual visual guidance, as I'm able to show my performer accurate demonstrations, so I can show him an accurate demonstration of how to do a first time shot, which overall helps my performer to perform that skill. For the third set of 3 weeks, I'm going to be doing a turn and shoot drill. This is where the performer receives a pass facing away from goal, and he turns in any way he likes. He can change the turns he's doing, and he has a shot off his turn. To make this harder, I can add a defender on his back, so he has to turn away from the defender and take a shot. Of course, I've put a keeper in the net, so he has to aim it away from the centre of goal and get it into the corners. And if we don't have a keeper available, we can add zones into the goal, which goes across the goal and like zones out the bottom, the top right, top left, and the bottom left. So he has to aim for those, and if they miss, then it's not good enough. For 2 of the sessions, I'm going to be doing HIIT training. These include rest periods, but it's a much higher intensity than doing the 30-minute runs and parachute runs. During the HIIT training, I'm going to be getting into doing burpees. I'm going to doing lunges, bounding about, really working his muscle spindles, things like that. If that becomes too easy, I'm going to increase the exercise intensity that he's working at, maybe reduce the rest periods or increase the exercise time he's working at. Throughout HIIT training, performers require a lot of motivation, because when the fatigue's really getting to them, they need a lot of verbal motivation to really help them keep going and push out them extra few burpees and not stop. And in the final few weeks, I'm going to get the performer on an anti-gravity treadmill. This is really to do with injury prevention, because we've been overworking him the past few weeks, and that anti-gravity treadmill takes that little bit extra weight off him, so he's not putting as much weight on, but he's still running quite a bit of distance. If this becomes too easy again, I can increase the incline, I can increase the duration that he's running at. For one of the sessions, I'm going to be doing shooting on the edge of the box in the style of a free kick. So I'm going to be adding walls, add more to the wall to make it a little bit harder, and change the position of the free kick, the distance, what side it's on, and do it on his weak foot on the left side, so he can practice on those. So when he's cutting in from the left side, he's going to be shooting on his right, so he needs to improve on his right foot shooting. The potential adaptations he could have after this training camp is he could get cardiac hypertrophy, which is where your heart muscles increase in size and become really big. As well as getting increased capillaries, so this improves his gaseous exchange with oxygen, so he's able to run further. It makes his gaseous exchange more effective and get more oxygen to the muscles. I'm going to measure before the training, just to get a rough idea of his fitness at the minute. I'll do this by a Cooper run, which is a simple way of measuring his VO2 max, where you just get him on a track, make him run for 12 minutes for as far as he can go, and then we use that in a calculation to work out his VO2 max. We can also use gas analysis, which is available at the England Institute of Sport, which is a really expensive bit of equipment, but it's the most accurate way of measuring the performer's VO2 max. Throughout, I'm going to also do this after and compare the results to see how much my performer has improved. Throughout this, I'm going to be using cooling aids like ice baths and ice vests. This is just to increases recovery rate, and also before running, using the ice vests to lower his heart rate even more, and it makes it easier for the performer to run a farther distance. Through the use of technology, we're able to use heart rate monitors now, which quite a few years ago we weren't able to have, and we weren't able to monitor footballers' heart rate. Throughout, we're also going to use feedback. This will be extrinsic feedback coming from the coach, giving advice on how to shoot properly, how to improve his running technique, how to make him more efficient. At the end of this may become intrinsic, because he knows if he's doing something wrong, he knows if he's got the wrong technique when he's shooting and things like that. If my performer continues to improve, we could take him on a Discover Your Power programme, where he could go to one of the days and he could get scouted by a club or someone from a different sport, and they identify his key skills and he could improve to be a professional. Professionals back in the 1800s, they didn't have any, and when they did have professionals, which was after 1850, they were the lower class and not the upper class, and now it's a mixture of classes that do become professionals now.